Hey YouTubers, welcome to the channel. I'm Tony the Technician, and today we're going to be going into Harbor Freight and looking at 5 items I do not believe are worth purchasing at Harbor Freight. But keep in mind, some of these are subjective and have their place for certain people. So let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. But first up, obviously you already see it, is the Thunderbolt batteries. I haven't tried some of their more expensive ones. Maybe those are a little bit better, but these are like the bottom of the bottom. And these are $2.29, normally $3. I hate buying batteries because of how expensive batteries are. These are extremely cheap, so when I first saw them, I was like, definitely. Bottom, worst choice I could have ever made, but there's but. That's if you're using them in items that are constantly using power, like remote control cars or any toys like that. Like, it's a no. Like, that's what I would like to put in them because they're cheap and they're just going in toys. But if they're going into something that requires, continuous use, not good batteries. Now, I think if you're putting them in like a remote or something, it's probably not bad, or something that's, not continuous power. So they have their place, but like for me, like I hate replacing batteries. So I'm just going to suck it up and buy the more expensive batteries and not have to deal with replacing them every day that my son plays with a toy. So that's the first up on the list, is just the cheap batteries. Maybe some of their better batteries or more expensive batteries are a little bit better. Let me know down in the comments. Next up is the Pittsburgh Automotive Brake Bleeder and Vacuum Pump Kit. So I have this, and I've probably tried to use it about a handful of times, and after this last time, I just gave up on it. I just can't stand it. For one, when you're pumping, the handle isn't smooth. Like sometimes it'll jam up, but also keep in mind, maybe for, if you just did a brake pad change and you're not doing anything with the fluid as far as like a full flush, then it might be okay. But I've tried to use these on full flushes and it is the worst experience. I tried to use it on the Camaro and I would have been here for 4 days and still wouldn't have bled all the air out of the lines. I just ended up using a Mountain Dew bottle, some brake fluid, and a little hose from this kit, and did my one-man brake bleeder that way, and just let gravity do its job. Because this thing, not just this experience, but multiple experiences, I could not get the air out of the system with these, and probably due to it being $25, I think I've used a couple other brands and they've performed well. So maybe it's just mine. Maybe I'm the only one with the issue. I don't know. I wouldn't think so, but I have not had good experiences with this the handful of times I've tried to use it, so I would not suggest it. There are a lot of other brake bleeders out there. If you have air, a pneumatic one is definitely preferred, but simply and cheaply enough, grabbing just a simple bottle, putting brake fluid in the bottom of it, and running a hose down to it, and letting gravity do its job is way faster and way cheaper already. So that's the route I went. Next up is the carbon steel. They have this in both SAE and metric. This is just the SAE set. Just for example, this is a 40-piece set for $22. When it comes to taps and dies, I do not suggest going cheap. Now, if you use a tap and die once a year or once every 5 years, but it's something that you want to have, sure. But if you use these on any sort of basis, I would not suggest this. Even if it's, once every couple months. For one, you always want to make sure that you have a tap and die set that is harder and stronger than the material you're working with. And these don't tend to hold up very long. And then you end up, when it comes to a tap and die, you're usually doing something that is very important. So having a bad tap or die and putting yourself in that situation to where it could be, almost permanently ruined, you don't want to do that. So I definitely know it has its place. Once again, subjective. If you use them, maybe a handful of times in your lifetime, but you just want to have a set around, okay. But once again, if you're going to use this on any sort of basis other than a handful of times in your life, I would suggest just getting something a little bit more expensive, something a little bit harder, and something that's going to have longevity and quality to it. Next up is the ratcheting bar clamps, this style specifically. I haven't used any of the other ones. This I've had 5 or 6 of, and 4 of them the ratcheting mechanism, not even putting a lot of pressure on them or anything like that. The mechanism just gave out. Like anytime I get to that portion to where it starts to clamp, it just gives out and won't clamp any further. They are extremely cheap, but when they did work, they worked well, but 2 of them were almost immediately just gave out. So I don't suggest these. I suggest going a little bit better quality and getting something that is going to, last, because it's not uncommon for these to do so. It is pretty common for these bar clamps to fail. So that's just something to be aware of. If you're trying to save some money, I would suggest just spending a little bit more than this to get yourself a quality one. Next up is a pretty general, broad spectrum. Any of the Warrior or cheaper sandpapers that Harbor Freight has, and I'm talking these sleeves, these cartridge rolls, the grit sanding belts, the sheets, anything like that. I've used all 4 of those, and none of them have held up well at all. Sanding paper, when it comes to Harbor Freight, I do not buy sanding paper at Harbor Freight. That's my thing. Now, it's been years since I've purchased it. I don't think these have changed any, but they have added a lot. And I mean, this is like bi-weekly. Harbor Freight is adding more sandpaper. If you watch my channel, you guys see the new tools video at Harbor Freight, and every time there's some sort of sandpaper on there. So they've released a lot for the Bauer lineup and Hercules lineup, and I think they have another brand or 2 as well. So maybe those are a little bit better, but Warrior just kind of, I actually have a handful of Warrior products that I've really enjoyed for the price, but the sandpaper is not one of them. So I stay away from the cheaper sandpaper there. I can't recommend or not recommend the other ones because I haven't used them, but as far as this stuff, it does not hold up very well, and even though it's really cheap, you'll burn through it pretty dang quickly. So I have also used that, and like I was stating, they do have some Bauer, and they have a lot of other sanding materials and brands and everything. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of the experiences I have with those items that I've listed, and hopefully you guys find it helpful. If you guys have different experiences with those items, please drop it down in the comments. But as far as I know, I'm not the only one, except for the brake bleeder. Maybe you guys have great experiences with it, but everything else, like, I have not had good experiences with it, and I know a lot of others have not also. That is it as far as the 5 things from Harbor Freight I believe are not worth purchasing. Once again, these are all basically items at the bottom of their options, so you could always step it up and try one of the other brands of possibly higher quality. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit that thumbs up, leave a comment down below of your guys' thoughts on these items, and as always, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'll see you guys next time.